jail ministry, it's fun to find proofs that you can say just in a couple seconds about the existence of God. A good one I was discussing very recently is sort of a mathematical proof for the existence of a creator God. So I'm not talking about like we can do some math and we calculate and somehow, bam, it proves God exists. No, what I mean is that the existence of this thing in our minds called mathematics, that it exists, that there are statements like this, 1 plus 1 equals 2, that proves the existence of a supernatural creator God. The argument is as follows. Imagine that reality had no God, no creator, and also no thinking minds. So not even any animals that can do simple mathematics, knowing that, the zebra knowing that 2 lions is different than 1 lion, doing a mathematical calculation. There's no minds at all that can do anything like mathematics that exists. That's all of reality. Just imagine this is the case. So in that reality, think of 2 rocks sitting next to each other on some hill somewhere. Notice I said 2 rocks, so I did addition. 1 plus 1. There's 2, and I did that without you even probably thinking about it. But nevertheless, some addition was done. So 1 plus 1 equals 2 is involved in me saying there's 2 rocks. So here's the question. Is 1 plus 1 equals 2 a sentence that is true in this reality where there's really no thinking minds and no God of any sort? And the answer is it has to be true. But what makes it true? It only can be true if it's in a consciousness. So 1 plus 1 equals 2 is a sentence that has a referent. The referent is mathematical concepts. Where do mathematical concepts exist? So they have to exist somewhere. You can't say that the sentence, there are 2 rocks, is false. You have an absolute certainty. In other words, it is absolute truth that the sentence 1 plus 1 equals 2 here in this reality where there's 2 rocks sitting next to each other on a hill, but where there's supposedly, hypothetically, for the sake of thought experiment, no minds of any sort, not even God, a creator God. But where does that sentence exist? Or stated differently, 1 plus 1 equals 2 is a string of meanings. Do those meanings exist inside the rocks? I think these meanings, these abstract concepts in 1 plus 1 equals 2 only exist in minds. But the sentence 1 plus 1 equals 2 with respect to these 2 rocks is made true because of the situation in this world, this reality with the 2 rocks. Philosophers like Plato in the past have wanted to say that what's going on here is there's actually another dimension that has the number 2 in it, and it's omnipresent, and it coincides with all reality or realities. And that's how the meaning of 2-ness can be applied to these 2 rocks. But I don't think that that's right because, as I'll discuss in a moment, 2, the number 2, 1 plus 1 equals 2, this is a string of meanings. And you only can have meaning, this concept of meaning, with a mind. That is essentially and inescapably a mental concept. You don't have any meaning. Meaning is almost like, has something to do with a feeling also. Like a meaning will have a certain feeling attached to it, certain thought concepts mixed with certain feeling states, which create this inner subjective phenomenon of a mind called meaning. So it can't be that there's a platonic realm, as it's often been called, only, that has number 2. How does it apply then to the rocks? Does it glue on? Does the meaning glue onto the rocks or something all of a sudden? That doesn't make any sense. It would have to be that there is mentation that exists. Does it exist in the rocks? Does it exist only in the mind thinking about the rocks? Does it exist in both? Does the 2-ness exist everywhere because it's in God's mind, where the 2-ness is everywhere? I think it's got to be that last point. It's everywhere. the two-ness can exist, and therefore, these mathematical concepts exist everywhere in the mathematical universe. And they are, like I said, meanings. So you can't have a reality without minds, or else the sentence 1 plus 1 equals 2 would not refer to anything. You'd have to say at the best it's a false statement, which is obviously absurd. Or really you'd have to say it's a statement that doesn't refer to anything. Like the sentence round square. There's a round square that doesn't refer to anything. So there has to be mind. And second of all, mind has to be omnipresent. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 1 plus 1 equals 2. These are true everywhere. In any reality, at any level of reality, down to the smallest inner microcosms of anything that exists, to the greatest expanse in any other dimensions of realities or ways we can think of the realities. 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 is always equal to 2. So that mathematics exists, that a sentence like 1 plus 1 equals 2 exists and maps onto reality and has to be a true statement always, proves that God exists. So there has to be an omnipresent mind where these mathematical abstractions, these strings of mathematical meanings, mathematical sentences exist within. So along with every other infinite thing in the mind of God, all of mathematics exists in God's mind. So do the rocks have minds that make this happen? Or if not, what sort of mind is there that must exist for this sentence to be true? It only could be an omnipresent mind. A mind where at every aspect in reality, in every way, from the deepest inner core of anything that exists to the greatest expanse, in every way that reality exists, this sentence 1 plus 1 equals true, and there is a mind that has this meaning in it of 1 plus 1 equals 2, this mathematical sentence, this mathematical meaningfulness in the meanings, the concepts of 1 plus 1 equals 2. So there can't be a reality with no thinking minds, and more specifically, there can't be a reality that doesn't have this omnipresent supermind. In other words, if the sentence 1 plus 1 equals 2 is true, God must exist. And we're talking about an omnipresent God, an omnipresent mind. The omnipresent creator God in the world religions, that's the Christian God, Yahweh, Christ.